All right. Good early evening, everybody. If you are tuning in live, thanks for being here. Today is a beginner's class, but beginners is kind of a subjective word, so I invite you to tailor this to however you're feeling today. If you want to modify things up a little bit, feel free. If you want to modify things down, feel free. If you don't know what any of that means, just follow along and don't do anything that doesn't feel good. We're going to start today in child's pose. So if you have sensitive knees and you'd like to bring something underneath you for some cushioning, you could do that. If you find that your heels and your hips are very far apart and that feels uncomfortable, you could also bring a blanket in the creases of your knees just to kind of fill the gap a little bit. But if it doesn't feel uncomfortable, feel free. Just let yourself land where you land. The width of your knees can be however feels best for you. And then you could choose to reach your arms forward like mine are. If this is a little bit aggressive, you could also choose to reach the arms behind you. I'm going to keep my head up just so I can speak to you because you'll be there for a little bit of time. So as you start to settle into a child's pose that feels right, that feels sustainable, start to tune into your breathing. I want you to start to identify where in your body you feel your breath most freely or where you feel it most sensationally. And if you find that your breath is a little bit obstructed, just check to make sure you aren't cranking your neck in your child's pose so that the part of your head where your forehead connects to your hairline meets the mat. So nothing is smushed, nothing is crunched. You may feel your breath most tactilely in your chest. If that's the case, see if you can direct your air a little bit lower so that as you inhale, you feel your belly maybe press into the tops of your thighs. And now see where you feel your breath most acutely in your back body. See if you can feel any movement, any lift in your upper back so that as you inhale, maybe you feel that kind of pressing of the lungs against your back ribs. And then see if you can start to direct the air lower so you feel a widening, not just a lifting, but also a widening in your low back. And then if your hands are behind you, do crawl them out long. And then inch your fingers farther forward so that you start to feel a widening in the side waist and the upper rib cage. Feel kind of a hollowing out underneath your armpits. And then empty all of your air out. Take a deep breath in through your nose, fill all the way up. And then open your mouth, exhale. Again, full breath in through your nose. Open your mouth, exhale. Full breath in through your nose. This time, pause. Keep your mouth closed as you exhale out of your nose. And continue to breathe like this. Taking care to see that this breath remains a 360-degree breath. So you're filling out the front and backs of your lungs. The waist gets longer, but there's also the lifting forward to backward. Then take a walk with your fingers to the left. Bring them as far to the left as you need to start to feel a lengthening, kind of gentle pulling underneath the right armpit. And then to any amount, you're going to start to walk the right hand farther forward from the left finger. So this may be just millimeters, but want you to do this so that you can elongate the right side of the body so you can get a deeper stretch. And think of sinking your right hip, your right butt bone back towards your right heel. And get a little bit wider with your next breath in. Feel the ribs kind of pull back in towards one another as you exhale. And then pass back through center. We'll do the same thing. Fingers, hands, forearms crawl to the right. Start to find that bowing in the left side of your body, that gentle tug underneath the armpit. And then start to accentuate the stretch by pulling the left fingertips however far beyond the right as you can manage. That may be just a half a millimeter, maybe you can get an inch or two. And then elongate this curve even more by sitting your left hip back to the left heel. Breathe into the spaces between your ribs. And then pass back through center. And then from here, look up, look in between your fingers. In whatever way feels right, you're going to come onto your stomachs. And then you can wiggle out your hips, move your neck around. And then bring your forehead to the mat once again. And again, leave mine lifted just so you can hear me. And find that same nice ease in the back of the neck so that you're really connecting hairline to the mat. There's space between your shoulders and the lobe of your skull and your ears. And then you're going to bring your hands behind your back. I'm going to do this facing away from you so you can see me if you get lost. So you're going to bring your hands behind your head. The fingertips can touch. They don't necessarily have to interlace. It's kind of like a prisoner, we'd call like a prisoner shape in the hands. You're going to lift your shoulders, sorry, not your shoulders, your elbows off of the mat so you feel the shoulder blades kind of kiss in towards one another. They tack onto the back of your rib cage a little more securely. And then from here, keeping your forehead down, I want you to lift your hands up off the back of your head. So if you're just hovering, feel the kind of heat build in the shoulders. And then you're going to reach your arms forward. And now you're in a Superman position. The hands are staying lifted off of the ground. You're going to reach your arms out to the side, passing through a T shape. And then once you dip below the line of your T, you're going to flip your hands. Palms are going to come up. Keep reaching the arms backwards. Now it's like you're reaching for your butt and your toes. Arms are long. Hands are still lifted. And then once the arms straighten, you'll bend the elbows again. As though you could bring your fingers to touch, maybe you can. They'll hover just above the small of your back. And then let your hands rest on the low back. Let your elbows release down to the ground. So you're back to a passive position. Take a moment, breathe in, breathe out. And then we'll reverse this kind of swimming motion. You'll pull the elbows off the ground, feel the shoulder blades start to pinch in. Then lift your hands, let them hover just above your low back. Reach the arms behind you, reach back for your toes, your palms are facing up. Then reach the arms out to the sides. Flip the palms to make a T. Keep reaching the arms overhead, passing through a Superman position, palms stay lifted. Then bend your elbows, bring the fingers towards one another as the hands hover over the base of your skull. Then bring your hands down onto your head, let the elbows relax. We're going to do that one more time in each direction. So reset, find your prisoner pose in the arms. Lift the elbows off of the ground. Hover the hands over the back of your head. Keep the shoulder blades on, keep the palms lifted as you reach the arms forward. Circle the arms out to the sides. Flip your palms, reach the fingertips back towards your toes, long arms, straight elbows. And keeping the shoulder blades still engaged, bend the elbows. Backs of the hands will hover above the small of your back. Pause here. Then let your hands rest, let the elbows relax. And then reversing, lift the elbows up. Hover your hands. Reach the arms back. Circle them around. Reach the arms up, Superman. And bend your elbows, hover the palms over the back of your skull. And then let it all go. Let the hands rest. Let the elbows rest back onto the ground. And then bring your hands to frame your ribcage. Press yourself up onto all fours. And take a moment, set yourself up so that the hands are very truly underneath your shoulders and the knees are underneath your hips. We're going to start with just a couple of simple cat-cows. Inhaling to let the belly button drop and the chest lift. And then exhale, round into your cat pose. Let this go as you slip back into cow, and then pause here for a moment just to refine it. Think of really swinging the chest forward, lifting your sit bones up into the air, still keeping the arms active. We'll hold here for one more inhale and exhale. Take one more breath in. And then use the breath out to hollow yourself round into cat. This time we'll hold the cat for a few sustained inhales and exhales to kind of fluff this shape up a little bit too. Think of, again, puffing up the space in between your shoulders. And for a lot of us, that's the most mobile part of our spine in cat-cow. And we kind of cut the curve off at the low back. So see if you can send a little more air towards the base of your spine. Get a little more of a curve at the bottom. And then let that go, slip back into cow. And then you can take a couple more on your own, pausing wherever you'd like to breathe into the shape a little bit more, or you could mix it all together and move a little more intuitively, a little more of a free-formed animal pose. And then let's pause in a neutral spine. And we're going to start to move the spine now laterally, so bring the toes a little bit closer together. And you're going to sink your hips back just a little bit, just like you were going to go into a child's pose, but you kind of change your mind. So hips aren't all the way to the heels, but it's not quite a tabletop. And then you're going to move your left hand to the center of the mat. Maybe just a little left of center. The right hand is going to come behind your head. And you're going to find that same kind of half prisoner position here in the arms that you had when you were on your stomach. So rather than letting the elbow kind of flop, I want you to think of tacking the shoulder blade onto the back of your rib cage so that the right elbow points right out to the side. Think of lifting the back of your head up into your hand so the chin almost reaches towards your throat. Then keep all of that. Think of just elongating the crown of your head past the front of your mat. And take an inhale, rotate at your belly button to point the right shoulder up towards the ceiling. Exhale, right elbow reaches to left elbow. Do that twice more. Inhale, elbow up. Maybe the gaze goes up. Exhale, elbow, elbow. One more time. Inhale, open up. And then pause here. Make sure you're really active in that left arm. Reach the right arm up. Maybe you lean back slightly. And then with the exhale, you'll thread the right arm behind the left. Bending the left elbow enough that you can get the right shoulder on the ground. Maybe you can get the right ear towards the ground. And then pause here for a moment. You might like to play with just how much pressure you put into the left hand and see how that can kind of change the amount of twist and rotation you get in your spine. If that's not super interesting to you, you could crawl the left arm forwards, reaching it past the front edge of your mat. Kind of using the left arm to get a stretch in the left side of your body as the right side twists. One more inhale here. If you have the left arm forward, pull it back underneath you. Push into it to unwind. Let's reach the right arm up one more time. And then circle the right arm forward, bring it down. Come back to a regular tabletop. Slide the right leg behind you. And then just pulse through the heel a little bit, keeping the toes connected onto the ground just to get into the back of the leg. We just woke up the posterior chain of our back, so now we're going to do the same for the leg. And then pull the shoulders back over the wrists. Pause here for a moment. Imagine you had suspenders on, and you're going to tighten them so that the ribs, the bottom ribs, the little baby floaters, kind of cinch in towards your hips. Now you're not in a full-on cat pose, there's just a little more engagement in your abdominals, a little bit of what we call posterior tucking of the pelvis. And keep all of this engaged as you lift the right leg. So you're squeezing the back of the leg to lift it. You aren't letting yourself sink into cow. We don't want to put any unnecessary pressure in the low spine. So keep that pulling in of the ribs towards the hips. And then take a couple little pulses here with the leg. So once again, taking care not to move through the low back. And to do so, this will likely have to be a very small motion, so you're really isolating the glute muscles. Take one more breath in here. And then pause. And then once you feel steady, sweep the left arm forward. It won't come much higher than your ear. Imagine being pulled in both directions, keeping the belly button pulled up, that little tilt in the pelvis. Hold for one more breath in. And then breath out, bring the hand down, bring your foot down. This is my favorite move here. Swivel your left shin to the left, roll open. Come onto the outside edge of your right foot and reach the right arm up. And then I'm going to encourage you here to just kind of play with this top arm. I know that sounds terribly nondescript, but start to move it around. You could play with some of those same kind of swimmer motions that you were doing on your stomach. Just find a way to move that feels like it's getting into parts of your shoulder that are neglected. So that could be just sweeping the arm. It could be circling the arm. It doesn't have to be calculated or methodical or the word I'm looking for, symmetrical. Just kind of move it around, get into the wrist. And then let's bring the hand to the hip. Push into the left hand to lift the right leg up. And then pause for a moment. Think of cinching your suspenders again so that you aren't, in this new orientation, compressing the back. And then if you'd like, maybe reach the top arm up. Hold for a breath in. And then hand comes down, knee comes down, come back to your tabletop. Take a couple cat-cows if you'd like. And then do the same grounding hands and knees sequence to the left. So reset to this kind of halfway, non-committal child's pose, sink the hips back towards the heels. Right hand will come to your centered, to the center of the mat or just right of center. Left hand will come behind your head. You want to think of activating the shoulder blade, elbow goes straight out to the side. Think of lifting the back of your head into your hands, so you're creating a little bit of pressure, a little bit of kind of like a bind. And then reach crown of the head forward past the top edge of your mat. Take an inhale to open up to the left, and then exhale, elbow to elbow. Twice more, inhale, open up. You may find that one side feels much different than the other. Exhale, twist. One more time, inhale, open up. Pause, reach that left arm up, still keep the neck long. And then with your exhale, thread this arm through. You'll bend the right elbow to any amount to get the left ear, left shoulder to the mat. And then you might stay here once again, kind of playing with the pressure kind of direction in which you almost like traction the hand, if that feels interesting and gets you a little bit more of a twist. If that doesn't make sense or it's not doing it for you, you could try reaching the arm forward once again and maybe even crawling it to the left. And when you're ready, you'll pull the right arm back underneath you if it's forward. Press down into it to unwind. Reach that left arm up. And then left hand comes down. Set yourself back up in tabletop. Slide the left leg behind you. Pulse a little bit forward and back. Open up behind the knee. Into your Achilles. And then pause when the shoulders come back over the wrists. Again, think about just kind of creating a little tiny abdominal crunch. Bring yourself out of the anterior tilt that a lot of us kind of naturally slip into. Cinch those suspenders so that you can balance something on your low back. And then when you're ready, without changing the orientation of your pelvis and your spine, lift the left leg. Just modest little lift will do. Reach through your heel. And then start with those tiny, tiny, tiny little pulses. Really, really small motions. Think just up, 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 just to start to wake up your glutes, your hamstrings. And then pause, get steady, and when you're ready, reach the right arm forward. Noticing that maybe you want to slip back into that compressed anterior tilt as the arm reaches forward. See if you can still stay cinched in. One more breath in. Right hand down, left foot down. Swivel your right shin to the right, and let's peel open to the left. And then same as before, kind of free form fluid moving of the humerus and the shoulder. You can circle. You might find some twisting here, some rotating. Experiment a little bit, roll out the wrist if that does something for you. And then in the next breath or two, left hand will come to the left hip. Pull your ribs in, shift weight into the right hand to lift the left leg. And now we're getting more the side of the hip, side of the glute, flex through your foot. And then when and if you'd like, reach the top arm up. And then bring the hand down, bring the foot down, come back to tabletop. Set yourself back up. Take an inhale, come into cow, tuck your toes. And then with your exhale, lift up and back, downward facing dog. Then take your time, pedal out your feet. Move in whatever way feels conducive to settling into this posture. And the next breath or two, let the down dog become still again. And now this can be very hard to sense if you don't have a mirror or you don't have someone there with you to give you kind of a tactile cue or feedback. But see if you can sense any rounding here in your low back. I'm going to kind of model that here. So you may find that you're getting a very big stretch in the legs, but there's this roundness here in the low back. If you can sense that or have a feeling that that might be happening, if you're particularly tight in the back of the legs, give yourself a nice generous bend in the knees. In doing this, we're creating a little more space, a little more slack in the legs to kind of share with the back. So with the knees bent, think of lifting your butt, not straight up towards the ceiling, but kind of back on a diagonal, so that you're making a V shape or a slope here. And then in the next breath, come forward to a plank. And then as you exhale, lift your butt up and back as you bend your knees, come back to that down dog. One more time, come forward. And then this time as you bend your knees, walk your hands back towards the toes so you come into a forward fold. Knees can stay very bent if you'd like to rest your chest on your thighs. If that doesn't appeal to you, just see that the knees are bent enough that you can maintain some kind of contact with the ground in your hands. Maybe it's just the fingertips, maybe it's the whole palm. The back of the head really get long. Shake it around, see if you're holding any unrealized tension there. And then keeping the knees bent, take an inhale, pull your chest forward. So we're coming into what is often cued as a flat back. And I don't usually like to cue it that way because I'd rather explain the action of what the spine is doing, which is lengthening. So rather than just think of flattening, I want you to think of making it as long as possible. Again, you probably will need a pretty generous bend in the knees to kind of share space with the back. And then exhale, let go, let it round forward again. Do that again, inhale, long spine. I like to keep my fingertips on the ground, but you could slide your hands up your shins if that helps you find length. And then exhale, fold forward. And then stay folded forward, keep this bend in the knees. Make sure your hands are really, your arms are really dangling. We're gonna take a slow roll up to stand, keeping the chin committed to connecting with the chest. Take your time rolling up. And similar to the kind of experimental shoulder moving, I want you to take your time with this, pausing anywhere that feels good or feels sticky, allowing yourself time to kind of move through it or kind of backtrack and then re-roll. Find that there's often a part of the spine that becomes segmented, kind of like sticky. See if you can identify where that is as you roll up and pause there. And let's do the same thing, roll back down, tuck your chin to your chest, bend your knees. Notice if there's one kind of group of vertebrae that turns kind of into one sticky piece. It's usually the part you want to rush through. And once your fingertips come back down to the ground, walk yourself out to a plank. And then you could keep the knees up or you could bring them down to the mat as you lower yourself down. Once you're on the ground, untuck your toes so that you can press into the tops of the feet. Hands are still framing your rib cage. Pull the elbows back. Find a gentle squeezing, just a gentle squeezing once again in between the shoulder blades. And then you're going to take an inhale, squeeze your shoulder blades now a little bit more to lift your chest. And then exhale, let yourself slide back down. And then I want you to do this again. This time think about putting a little more energy into your feet. Sounds kind of arbitrary. Think of your legs like a lever. Your glutes are working, your legs are working. Again, it's not just everything kind of dumping into your low back. And lower yourself back down. And let's take 2 more back bends. These can be the depth of your choice. So you may press the hands a little bit more, maybe press the legs a little bit more. Maybe come into an up dog. Lower yourself down. One more time, peel yourself up. And then lift yourself up and back to a down dog. And start to walk the feet forward towards the top of your mat. Coming into a forward fold. And then take an inhale, find that long spine once again. And then walk your hands over to the outside of your right foot. And then exhale, let yourself round over the outside of your right leg.
You might play with walking the hands farther out to the right so that you lengthen under the armpits. It becomes a little bit reminiscent of that child's pose we did. And then pass back through center. Take an inhale, long spine. Walk your hands outside of your left foot. Exhale to fold forward. And then if it felt good, if it felt interesting on the other side, try reaching the arms maybe farther out to the left so the arms lengthen, the elbows engage, energize. And then come back through center. Bring your hands to interlace at the base of your skull. Pull down gently from the base of the skull to get a little tractioning in the spine. Keep your knees soft. And let the elbows kind of hug in towards one another. Let's take a slow roll up here. Again, taking your time to linger. Any place that feels like it needs a little more time or lingering. And then once you get all the way up, peel the elbows open. So we're back to this position that we were in on our stomachs, but now we're oriented differently. So notice if you're poking your chin forward, or you letting the chin collapse. See if you can find nice level orientation of your head here so that the chin is really parallel to the ground, perpendicular, parallel. Elbows are pointing straight up. There's that slight engagement in the upper back. And then keep the spine, keep the neck, keep the chin as they are. Just release your arms down. Pause for a moment here. Play around with where the weight is being distributed in your feet. Just kind of observe where you naturally landed. See if you can find kind of a heaviness in your tailbone, a lengthening down. And then see if you can find that slight, very slight cinching of the ribs towards the hips. And take an inhale, sweep your arms up. Bring your palms together. And then exhale, pull your prayer hands down your midline. And then let the hands separate, come back down to your sides. Again, inhale your arms up, reach up. Maybe this time you look up. Hands come together, exhale, pull this prayer down your midline, separate the hands. Inhale, reach the arms up. This time as you exhale, let your knees soften as you fold forward. Hands will come down to the ground. Head is heavy. Take an inhale, find your long spine. Fingertips on the mat or fingertips on your shins. And then exhale, step your right foot back. Then step your left foot back. And then your choice, you can lower down, take a back bend, or just step back to downward facing dog. If you take the back bend, inhale to push into your feet, squeeze the shoulders. And then the exhale will drag you back to a downward facing dog. Bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, step or float your feet between your hands. Take an inhale, find a long spine. Exhale, let it go. And this time as you inhale, hinge yourself up to stand. So you're moving through a flat, long back. Hands come up, fingertips touch. And then exhale, hands come down to your sides. Again, inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bend your knees, fold forward. Inhale, find a long spine. Exhale, step the left foot back. And then the right foot back. And then once again, your choice, lower down, find a back bend, or just step back to downward facing dog. If you lower down, inhale, lifts your chest, pulls you forward. Exhale, pulls you back to a down dog. Inhale to bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, step or hop your feet between your hands. And take an inhale, find a long spine. Exhale, fold forward. And from here on out, it's up to you if you want to round up or hinge up. Take your time coming back to stand on your feet. Take an inhale, arms circle up. Exhale, hands come down. Let's do one more round of this sun salutation. Inhale to loop the arms up. Exhale to pull the prayer down your midline as you soften, fold forward. Inhale, long spine. And then exhale, plank to down dog or plank through your vinyasa. We'll meet up in downward facing dog. With your next inhale, lift your head, look forward, bend your knees. Step or float to the top of the mat. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, let it go. Inhale to reach the arms up and look up. Exhale, hands to your sides. Separate your feet about as wide as the mat. And then let your toes turn out. From here, reach your arms up. Pull your hands together and then once again, pull the hands down your midline so that the thumbs are at your sternum. And then from here, you're going to bend the knees. We're going to come into a squat. So you have options here. If this is very accessible to you, you can feel free to come down as low as you'd like. Just make sure that your heels are grounded. If you find that that's impossible to keep your heels grounded, maybe you're tight in the shins, maybe you're tight in the hips or the ankles, bring yourself up a little bit and you can take, I didn't know this had a name, but I heard someone call this a double warrior. I guess it's kind of like warrior 2 in both legs. So that you still have your heels anchored, you can still open the hips, but you're a little more supported. And then wherever you are, just let yourself shift side to side a little bit, whether or not your hips are close to the ground or elevated. And of course, if you're in this double warrior position, you could choose to bring your hands here, but for a little more support, you could bring them to the tops of the thighs. And then once you find a little more openness in the hips, pause back in the center. And then if you're in this lifted position like me, you'll just reach one arm up. If you're down here, you'll reach one arm up while you reach the other arm out to the side so that you're kind of prying yourself open here. Notice if when you do that, you start to shift weight to favor one ankle, one foot, so you can even yourself out. And then come back through center. Switch to the opposite direction. You're in that double warrior. You can stay with one forearm on the thigh. And then stand up, reach up, strong movement, straighten your legs. Bring your feet back underneath your hips. Hands come down to your sides. Take a moment, shake your legs out. And then let's take one more deep breath in, reach the arms up. And just one half round to bring us back down to the mat, fold forward. Inhale, long spine. And then exhale, plank. And either lower down, take a vinyasa, or come straight into a child's pose. And take a moment here in child's pose, whatever version of child's pose feels restorative and restful to you. Check in with your breath, notice any shifts in its quality, in its depth, in its speed. And then come forward onto all fours. We'll make our way back to the downward facing dog. Then take an inhale, step your right foot outside of your right hand. You can use your hand to help you get there if you need. And then if you have blocks, this is a very good place to give yourself a little bit of elevation under your hands. Without blocks, or with blocks, I like to come up onto my fingers.
fingertips, just so I have a little less pressure here in my shoulders. I can transfer a little more of that effort into my legs. And then let your hips kind of swivel side to side a little bit, play with moving around the right foot if you need a little space. And then bring the back knee down. Continue to lift the chest. And then exhale, you're going to push into the back foot. Lengthen through both legs. They don't have to straighten. And do let yourself round here. Really let that head go. Just let this feel good in your spine. And then come forward once again. Bend your knee, lift your chest. So this is kind of like a lunging cow. And then exhale, push through your feet. Let your spine round. One more time, come forward. And then round as you lengthen the leg. And then come forward, regular low lunge. Plant your left hand down. I guess it's not a regular low lunge, it's kind of a wide low lunge. And then we'll take a wide twist. Reach the top arm up. Feels good to lean back. You could lean back. Make sure you're staying nice and active in that left leg. And then bring the right hand down inside of your right foot. Lengthen through the right leg. And then pivot all 10 toes to the left. Once you're lengthened in both legs, let the toes turn out slightly. Bend the left knee. Take a lunge to the left side. And once again, do what you need to do to keep your heels anchored. So some of you may be able to hang out real low here. Others are going to have to use hands or blocks to stay supported. Just let yourself breathe into this position. Staying long in the right leg. And then pass back through center, lengthen both legs. Turn your toes to face forward. See that the hands are right underneath the shoulders. Let's take an inhale, find a long spine. So once again, rather than lifting it out, you think of lengthening it. And strong moment, bring your hands to your hips. Press down through your feet to kind of squeeze yourself up. And then you're going to turn the right toes to the right. Left foot is going to stay parallel to the back of the mat. And then bend the right knee. Legs come into warrior two. Adjust them if you need a little more width. And then when you're ready, arms reach out. Come back to that action of cinching your bottom ribs towards your hips. Not so that you're rounding in the low back, just so that you're lengthening. Taking any compression out. And flip the front palm. Inhale to reach up and back. And maybe play with trying to tap your right hand in between your shoulders to get a little bit of a tricep stretch. And then as you exhale, bring that right forearm to your right thigh, sweep the left arm overhead, rotating at the rib cage. And then let's do the same action with the left arm. Try to tap your palm, your fingertips in between your shoulder blades to whatever degree you can, just that's the intention. And then reach that arm out. And bring both hands down to frame the front foot. Heel toe your right foot farther to the right once again. So you have to kind of now loop your right arm inside of the right foot. And we're going to come into a lizard pose. So there are lots of ways that we can modify this. You could keep this back. Let's start with bringing the back knee down. This is the friendliest option. Starting with the back knee down, you'll untuck the toes. You can leave your hands flat so your arms are long. You'll think of hugging in your right knee towards your right shoulder, and then pulling the chest forward. Again, blocks can come underneath the hands. Fingertips can help. Blocks and fingertips. If you wanted a little more sensation, you could keep this back knee down And then come onto your elbows. Again, you could use elbows on blocks. And then in this, this iteration of it, there will be a rounding in the low back. But see if you can pull the chest forward so that there's still this sensation of lengthening despite the roundness in the low back. Now, if you wanted to take it even a little step farther, make it a little bit more muscular, a little bit less of just a released stretch, you could tuck the back toes, lift your back knee so that you are in a lunge rather than supported by the back knee. Feel free to kind of move in and out of any of these variations. And come up onto your hands. Let's turn the right toes out to the right. You can heel toe the foot. Maybe bring the left hand a little wider. And then just gently kind of palm your right knee with your right arm, right hand rather. Right palm. And then if you'd like, reach that right arm up. And same thing here. Just let that right arm kind of move where it wants to move. Changing the angle of your reach might really change how you feel things opening in your chest and shoulder. And then once you're ready, you'll loop that right arm back onto the ground. Heel toe your right foot in a little bit. Lift your left knee. And then step back to a downward facing dog. You could take a vinyasa if you would like to, but no obligation to. And then once you're settled in down dog, step the left foot forward outside of the left hand. Come up onto your fingertips, use your blocks, get a really strong, long line here. And then bring the back knee down with the support of the knee. Even a little bit more leverage to lift your chest. Hips will sink forward slightly. And then as you exhale, push into your back foot, lift the knee. Let yourself round over the front leg. Rebend the knee, front knee, tap the back knee, lift the chest. Exhale to round. Inhale, lunge, bend both knees. Exhale, lengthen. And then inhale, rebend. Let the right arm down. Let's take a wide twist. Reach the left arm up, maybe lean back. Staying active in that right leg. Circle the left arm down. You'll lengthen through the left leg and then pivot so that your toes face the right edge of the mat. You'll probably need to readjust so that they're even. Then turn those toes out slightly. And then bend your right knee so that your hips shift towards the back edge of the mat, but still keep them lifted. Hands can stay down for support. You might come down lower, lift them up. You can kind of switch between the two, just making sure you're really connecting through your right heel, staying long in your left leg. And then come back through center, both legs will straighten. Turn the toes forwards. Hands come underneath your shoulders. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Then bring your hands to your hips. Press down strong legs to lift up. Turn the left toes forward. Adjust your width if you need to. Bend the left knee. Reach the arms out. Warrior two. Lengthen your tailbone down. Abs are engaged, arms are long. And then flip your front palm, inhale, reach up and back. And then if it feels good and interesting, bend to the left elbow so that the hands move towards the small, the space in between your shoulder blades. And then come forward, left forearm to left thigh, reach the right arm up and over, long line. And then same thing here. Play with bending the elbow. Bring the fingers in between your shoulder blades. Then bring the hands down. Bring both hands inside of your left foot so that you can heel toe the left foot further to the left. And then you'll find your version of lizard. So I'm going to recommend starting with the back knee down just to kind of see what feels accessible. Feel free to stay here, working on lengthening the front of the right hip, reaching the chest forward, hugging the left knee in towards your elbows. Maybe you let yourself soften there and then have enough space to come down onto your elbows. If you're coming down, allowing yourself to round through the low back and still stay lifted in the chest, forward oriented into a forward kind of motion. And if you want to tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. You can try that too, again, kind of letting yourself make it a little more dynamic and move through the three options if that feels good. And then do come back up onto your palms. Give yourself a little more width. Then bring the left foot out to the left, maybe the right arm and hand to the right. And then palm your left knee. Allowing yourself to come into a back bend that feels good. You don't need to press yourself any deeper than feels right, especially if you have a angry low back. And then reach the left arm up, maybe. Maybe move it around. And then let's bring the hand back down. Heel toe the right foot, the left foot in. And then tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Step back to a plank. And then bring your knees down. Sit your hips back towards your heels. Take a moment here, just let yourself settle. We're just going to take a small little back bend here with an option to make it bigger if you so choose. With the heels, hips on the heels, walk your hands behind you. Fingertips are going to point in the same direction as your toes. Think of rolling the fronts of the shoulders back, squeezing the shoulder blades. And maybe you stop here. This is enough for you. This is too much as it is. Stay here in the hero's pose. If this feels pretty open, not particularly sensational, you could play with lifting your hips off of your heels. And then you'll know how far your body allows for your head to go back. Otherwise, just staying here in hero's pose, letting your breath start to drop back in. And then come back to the seated hero's pose. If you're still in a back bend, just let yourself come out of it for a moment. Let the blood settle. And then sit your hips to one side so that you come onto your butt. You'll reach the legs out in front of you. I'm going to take just a couple of forward folds here. Now, if you find that when you're seated like this, it's almost impossible not to round through the low back. Again, kind of a tricky thing to sense, but if you're, where you're tight. So if this is kind of where you sit, where you land, grab a blanket, grab a pillow, grab a yoga block, anything that's cushioned enough for you not to feel very uncomfortable seated on, go ahead and grab that, so that you can allow your pelvis to tip forward, which is kind of the action we're working against, but now you'll let your hips tilt forwards a little bit, almost like you were in a down dog trying to kind of reach your butt bones up and back. And then you may find that this allows for your legs to, this extra cushion allows for your legs to lengthen a little bit. If it's still very hard and almost inaccessible to keep your legs long, you'll just bend them to any amount that allows you to really, again, prioritize this length of the spine. And then take an inhale, get a little bit taller. And then as you exhale, think of hinging, not rounding at the low back. Thinking of from your tailbone to the crown of your head is one piece. Reach it forward. Angle it forward. When you feel like you can't do that anymore without rounding through your low back, you kind of know that that's where you're going to stop for today. You'll let the hands just land wherever they're going to land. It could stay on your legs. I like them anchored to either side. And then you can let your head go here, right? So that there is, again, this roundness in the cervical spine. But the chest still wants to reach forward so that we're maintaining as much length in our low back as we can, keeping our hip points angling forward. And then you might find that with time, the tissue softens, you're able to lengthen forward a little bit more. And come all the way up. Let's bend the right knee in. Bring the right arm behind you, reach the left arm up. Take a breath and get a little bit longer. And then exhale, let's hook the left shoulder around the right knee. And you're going to use this hook of the arm and the knee and this back hand to help you rotate. Again, you're not rounding through the low back here. You're lifting up and out of your blanket that you're sitting on, or up and out of the mat. And take a little counter twist. And then other side bend, the left knee, lengthen the right leg out. Left arm will come behind you, just so you can kind of use this as even more leverage to lengthen through the low back. Reach the right arm up, breathe in. Exhale, hook the elbow around your knee. Use it to rotate. Think of pulling the left rib cage away from your left thigh. The right rib cage rotates towards it. All the while you continue to lift up and away from the mat. And then little counter twist. And then lengthen the legs out in front of you. If you have a blanket underneath you, you could remove it now or just remove it once we get all the way down onto the mat. But I'd like for you to start with that same very deliberate lift in the spine. And then as you start to pull your belly button in towards your spine, you will let your tailbone kind of round underneath you so that you can, very much like you worked on when you were rolling up from 2 feet, round through your spine. Use your abdominals, come all the way down. Then bring your knees into your chest. Circle out the knees, rock side to side, rock forward and back. Your sacrum really connected. And then let's take a figure 4 stretch. Put your left foot on the ground, cross your right ankle over your left knee. Flex through the right foot. More pressure into your ankle and your knee connection so that you can drive the right knee forward. You can pause here. You can lift the left foot off of the ground. Pull the right knee in. And for a lot of us here, we'll curl the tailbone up in an effort to really pull the left knee in, which is not wrong. You're going to get more of a stretch in the outer hip that way, perhaps. See what it feels like to lengthen your tailbone down so that you're connecting that lowest part of your spine to the ground. And then once you're ready, switch to the other side. Right foot down, left ankle to right knee. Flex your left foot. Use the ankle to press the left knee forward in space. Feel just kind of the connection of the low back to the ground. And then try to maintain that if you choose to lift the right foot off of the ground and pull the right leg in towards you. Continuing to press the left knee forward. So there's that heaviness in the sacrum and pelvis. And then when you're ready, bring your feet back down to the ground. And then one at a time, lengthen your legs out. Find a version of Shavasana that feels right to you. And that could mean keeping the knees bent. If that feels better in your spine, you could elevate your feet. Use that pillow or blanket if you still have it. For any cushioning or support or warmth. Let your hands come to your sides. You can watch your breath as it goes back to its passive state. Slowly start to deepen your breathing. If you're feeling good in Shavasana and you want to stay here, go ahead and stay there. Otherwise, start to bring some movement back into your body. And in your own time, roll yourself onto one side. And then press yourself back up. Find a tall seat. You could choose once again to sit on that blanket or block or pillow, whatever you might be using. A little more lift, a little more integrity in the spine. If you'd like, bring your hands together at your chest. Close together with a final breath in and a breath out. Namaste. Thanks, guys. Hope you check out our other classes. Please reach out if you have any questions, and hope to see you guys soon.